everybody. Hope everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So, mainly been doing motorcycle stuff because talking about Dodge and Ram and everything else in light of the fact that there's no V8, well, a lot of folks don't even want to have anything to do with that conversation. And the people that do are kind of weird. They want to talk about the Hurricane 6 and everything about it. The thing is that I'm not seeing a whole lot of people fawning over that setup. And so there's that. We've got the new e-charger that's been making its little cameos, if you will. And so I wanted to talk about that car too, and anything else that you guys want to chat about. So hope everybody's having a very awesome day. So let's dive into it. We can talk about the trucks first. Guys, it's not looking all that awesome for the Hurricane 6 for the Ram. I'm kind of glad that I ended up not getting one. I had high hopes for that setup, and well, it just never really played out. And because of that, I'm really more and more happy with my decision to go with the Ford. But more to that point, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm really holding out hope for that Charger. And we can always say what you will about the looks of that thing, but if you haven't really been able to check it out, it's kind of crazy. The blind spot on the C-pillar of that car is gargantuan. Like, it's safety concerning. And I'm a safety worried guy, right? I'm worried about safety just like you are. Or I should say concerned about safety the same way that you are. I'm assuming that, the cars are safe, but this is a thing that the C-pillar of that car, I'm not kidding, has got to be like 2 feet plus. That's not good. The Challenger already had a bit of an issue with C-pillar blind spots, but this new Charger, it's on a completely different plane of existence. So, kind of concerning. Again, I'm not going to stand anywhere near that thing in terms of looks for fear that some of the ugly would get on me. I love the way that it looks from the firewall back, and I love the way it looks from the firewall forward. I don't understand why they put that front end on that car, though. It just looks weird. Like in a taken by themselves, they look great. But the reality is that it's not great, and it looks a little weird. And guys, look, you say, well, what about it doesn't look like the concept, and it's not all that, whatever. And guys, look, there are cars that don't look like the concept, but still look amazing. I mean, look at the Supra, for example. I mean, it's kind of a, chubby bunny, especially if you compare it to how it looked as a concept car. But you guys know, I've been talking about having a crush on that car since it was released. And of all the cars that are out there now, I got to tell you, the Supra would be the one that so I haven't talked about, like, if I were to build another car, what would it be? I really haven't gotten into that. If I were to build another vehicle, a car, not a truck, because my first choice would be a Coyote truck with either turbos or a supercharger. And just build, a little mid 10-second street truck. But if I were to build a car, it would, almost hands down be a Supra. And the reason for that is, you can still make 800 horsepower with one of those engines pretty easily. The transmissions seem to be holding together. I don't know what makes them different than the HP 70. It's still an HP style trans. So, but I don't know. I get it. I've had a bit of a crush on that car, and I would, take it in a heartbeat. But that's kind of beside the point, though, isn't it? Like, this was an opportunity for Dodge to build their own Supra, their own Conquest. That's really what the Supra is. It's a Supra, I get it, but in size, in function, in presence, the Dodge equivalent would be a Conquest. That is the Conquest. And I don't understand the logic behind the penmanship on that car. And it's like I said in the last video or the last live, it's like you can't like a power plant's a power plant, and I get it, it's a novel thing, but for a car to look like that Charger, it kind of does need to have the soundtrack to go along with it. But more to the point, could somebody please explain to me why they used Gen 1 Charger, in other words, like the latest Gen 1 LX platform Charger taillights on the back of that thing? Did it really have to go backwards before it went forwards? Anyway, let me check in with you guys real quick. Sovereign is in. Got the flex with the bald guy in the shades. I like it. Got the cadence down. So I'm saying I'm watching the RNC right now. Biddy Johnson's live stream. Very cool. Got us on in stereo. Oh, Skids, one of Skids' comments didn't make it. That's kind of weird. Skids is checking in with Sovereign. DM is in. Good evening. Hey, DM. So, motorcycle chat real quick. I just put the Sato clip-on style bars onto the Katana. And that video's, in fact, I just got through filming it. That video's coming out. It's kind of a real quick overview. Completely transformative on that bike. Should have come that way from the factory. Skid saying Nissan Z looks amazing compared to the concept. Heck, the 09 to 14 Chally looked way better than the concept they had shown in 07, 08. Yeah, that one was a little bit brutal to look at. Got the RNC in the background. I'm liking it. So here's the thing, guys. I'm left confused, and as weird as that might sound when it comes to the Dodge thing, I can't wrap my head around what it is that Dodge is doing, who's green lighting the styling of this latest car. Look, I will reserve final judgment in the spy shots. You know what? I tell you something. It would probably look pretty slick with a different set of wheels and tires, a staggered setup or something like that. Would probably check in on the positive for this car. But man, oh man, does it need something. It's a pretty butch look. I just feel like it's there is something somewhat cringe about it, and I can't put my finger on it. It's that uncanny valley of automotive design that's really starting to it's my spidey senses are tingling whenever I see that thing, and not in a good way. We're confused too. We'll hold judgment. Yeah. Oh, DM, I look forward to seeing the video. Sato is good. Here, let's go for a walk. Come on. It's just us hanging out. Okay, check this out. I want to show y'all this because if you're into bikes at all, this will be something that you'll notice right away. One of the things on this bike that I didn't understand, it's all locked up right now, but why this thing didn't come with a clip-on style setup, I have no idea. With the straight bar just did not go well. Again, you'll see a lot better shots of this in that video that's coming up. But here's the thing. Here's another fun fact when it comes to the Katanas. So I got an ASV lever for the clutch. Works great. This is a must for this bike. So to get the right amount of free play, your 1 or 2 millimeters of play right here. The other clutch, how do I explain this? The other clutch, you'd have to wind it up too tight. There were some issues. Anyway, I could not get the ASV over here because the lever is completely different on the Katana than it is on even the GSX-S and the GSX-R 1000. It has what looks to be a larger plunger for the master cylinder. So anyway, I put that other ASV on here, and it actually locked up the front brake when I tried to ride it. That was kind of cute. Anyway, here's the rig right here where, like, you got the halo light, you got the stand-up thing where I'm sitting there talking. Those are some towels hanging up there on the Mustang, and then you've got the rest of the fleet. So anyway, and then those mirrors that I make. So plenty of those laying around. That one was a pain in the ass. Anyway, that's what we got going on behind the scenes. But yeah, it completely transformed the bike in a very, very good way. And what it did was it made the thing actually rideable. When I first rode that bike, I'm not kidding when I say it was it felt like the handlebars were like up here. It's kind of weird. It was not very comfortable. Oh, and don't forget, the bike only has now 340 miles, 344, I think, is what was on the clock. It's only got 344 miles, which means the oil only has 344 miles. The gas it was probably on its third tank of gas in 4.5 years, so I'm trying to burn that out as quickly as I can. There's going to be some level of, remnants of the old gas in there with just this small amount being in there. So, let's see what else I had. I got the oil change coming. Been kind of taking it easy. Anyway, but the tires. I'm trying to scuff these in. I'm able to get the bike over on the side of the tire pretty good. I'm not real. I'll get it over on the side of the tire and the bike will just start moving. My corner entry speed probably needs to come down a little bit. I'm a little bit bad about that. But yeah, I am getting it broken in. I'm able to get on the throttle pretty hard. By the way, that's another fun fact. Another fun fact for the Katana guys. When you go to put a different throttle, like I tried to put a quick throttle on it, or at least the stock style throttle, just to use the Durlin bushings and the metal tube and all that. I just like G2 stuff. It doesn't work. There is a different cam profile on the throttle for 2019, 2020, and 19 and 20 have a different profile. And so anyway, I was like, why is this thing not going together? Because I've done a ton of G2 throttles over the years. For my bikes, other people's bikes, I can kind of put them together in my sleep almost. And I thought, man, what am I doing wrong here? I'm overthinking this or something? What's the deal? Yeah, come to find out, the cables just literally were not long enough. So I'm going to try out a GSX-R 1000 throttle tube to see if I can make that work. But if not, then I'm just going to put a regular throttle tube on there, because that you wouldn't have noticed it, but the throttle is about that big around. It's like you're holding a Vlasic pickle. And the reason for that is the previous owner put a set of heated grips on the bike. That was one of the main reasons why I was switching all this stuff out. But the grip I actually kind of like, believe it or not. And I wanted to have the stock throttle tube just if I wanted to see what the difference would be, and also see if I can cheat a quick throttle out of a GSX-R 1000. But it may turn out that throttle is no different. It's a different part number, but it might be that it could be a quick throttle, but it might end up not necessarily being a great idea. This bike's got really good manners. It's very torquey. It's a K5 GSX-R 1000 engine, and if you de-restrict this thing, it makes pretty much the same horsepower as a Gixxer 1000 did, the K5, 6, 7, and 8, which is by far one of my, probably all the freaking, just one of my all-time favorite bikes. But Yeah, it was kind of funny. Uh, just this bike is a lot of fun, but it's nothing's perfect. Let me check back in with you guys real quick. Let's see. Oh, so DM saying, I like your style, Sovereign. Yeah. Um, oh, Skids is liking it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, John Gaptis, what's up, homie? Good to see you back in. Saying added a 25 Rocket 3 GT. Oh, you got the Storm. Nice. And you got a Diavel. Very cool. I like the Rocket 3 GT. For you guys that don't know, it's a 2.5 liter, about 170 horsepower for the Storm. It is a wicked bike, and with a Kropovich exhaust, it sounds ridiculous. That bike with a tune and an acro de-restricted is a flipping monster. And so is the Duck. But yeah, Skid saying congrats. DM saying thank you for the sneak peek. Yep. Skid saying those are similar. Which one do you ride? Oh, DM, yeah, plowing the front a little bit. Yeah, well, the thing is, it's actually not bad now. When I say plow, I'm basically the tire is I'm getting some chatter out of it as I'm coming into corners. The bike sits down. Oh, that's the other thing that I did. I set it up with the same suspension settings as the GSXS. The F and the Katana and the GT now have a little bit softer suspension setting, although it's all the same components. And now it's a whole lot happier, but I was getting a whole lot of chatter out of the bike. In other words, there's a couple of places where I can get the bike at a pretty decent clip in third gear and just drop it, basically just lay it over looking through my corner. And when I would do that, I'm looking over through my corner, and the bike is starting to step out a little bit. It's doing that whole virtual insanity thing on me a little bit, and that's just tires. I'm trying to get them scuffed in, but you can see where there's an actual grease line going around the side of the tire. Those tires are dry, and I get the impression that the bike was under maybe a very large carport or something like that. It's a real clean bike, not a scratch on it that I haven't put on it. But the tires do they're good enough to be able to play with. I can get a handful of throttle with like sweepers and stuff like that. I've only had it, well, I'll put it to you like this. When I first rode the bike, I think I was the only person to ever get it, more than about a 15-degree lean. The chicken strips were, you measure them in finger widths. And not that I'm as sporty of a rider as you'll find, but I'm not going out there and trying to rip on a bike that's got no miles on it, but it's got old tires. And especially with the power profile that this bike's got. But once this thing is de-restricted, I'm probably just going to go de-restricted stock exhaust. I've got the restrictor out of the airbox, which I highly recommend. If for you guys that may have one of these bikes and you haven't thought about it, get the restrictor out of there. And it still has this stock air filter. There's really not a lot I need to do with this bike, just to get out there and have fun with it. But you can feel where the nannies are kicking in, but more importantly, you can feel where the slowness to react of the secondary throttle plates. It needs, I've got to really, like, when I'm talking about dumping this thing in on like a high third gear, or maybe like a midway, I've got another right-hander that I'll hit in fourth gear that I used to hit really hard with the Z1. And I can hit it harder, easier with this bike. It's just a better chassis setup. But even then, I'm rolling into the throttle in fourth. Again, not at I'm not like at $9,000 or $10,000 going through this thing in fourth and trying to pin it. I'm maybe at 6 or 7 and just kind of getting a handful of throttle. And you can feel that it's just a little bit slower to react. It doesn't really get lively until about 8,500. And so maybe a good thing right now that it's not, because again, I'm trying to scuff these tires in a little bit. But Yeah, you can see the grease ring going around the outside of it. I'm just trying to get as much heat into these things as I can and get them scuffed in quite a bit. I'd like to be able to get this thing out and play with it this weekend a little bit more. I'm hoping to have its first oil change done and to try to just burn some gas through the thing more than anything else. Get it to its maybe I'll probably do another oil change at around 750 miles or something like that. Typically I'll do 250, 500, and 1,000. I might stick with that cadence. That's just how I do my first few oil changes, but it's a K5 Gixxer motor. I mean, these things are like, it'll what survives the war. It's like cockroaches and K5 Gixxers. So, I win. But no, I'm having a ball with it. But yeah, talking about set and sag and adjusted suspension. Believe it or not, with this thing having, it's not upgraded components, but it's upgraded compared to the Kawasaki, but it's very well balanced now that I've put the extra click into the rear shock, and really haven't touched compression or anything else like that, just trying to get a feel for it. It already feels significantly better than the Kawasaki, and I did everything I could to the Kawi to try to get it to this point that this bike's already at. With really, I just went click and that was it, with the adjuster for the rear shock. So kudos to Suzuki for putting that suspension setup together. But I'm the more I can put some time into it, I'll start to look at that actually when I put a different set of tires on it. A little bit on the fence if I should go with Rosso 3s or if I should go with the S23s. I know a lot of guys don't like the S22, S23 style tires because they wear out more quickly. I'm here to tell you that I am here to wear out tires. So I love the way the 22s transform that Z1. They're going to do the same for this bike too. So the only thing is that I'm wondering if I should go 190/55 or if I should go 190/50 with this bike. I'm thinking that I might go 190/55 with it. Kill a little, it'll take about 3% of the gear out of the bike, but on the side of the tire, I'll get more meat. It'll allow me to use a little bit more RPM, especially through longer sweepers. I can run that in fourth instead of fifth. Once this thing gets broken in, and I can play around with this thing at about $9,000 as I'm exiting those, getting through my apex, or just as I'm creeping into the apex at about $9,000 or so. Just as I'm rolling into wide open throttle with the bike, it'll be a little bit more composed with that larger tire. Skids, I swung by Plano Kawasaki Suzuki the other day. Almost told them, yeah, I'm Mason here to pick up my black Katana. Great folks there. Yeah, I don't know if they've sold my bike yet, but I think that one of the guys that works there was thinking about picking it up. So, it's there now if you want to check it out. And it will be in all the settings that I set it up with when I had it. Great bike too. I'll put it to you like this. The main thing that bugs me about the Kawasaki is that I wasn't able to have it and the Katana. I have to be somewhat fiscally responsible. And the Katana really did make more sense. So, a little bit of backstory on the Katana too. I didn't even know that motorcycle existed on the planet of Earth when I bought my Kawasaki. I dig the hell out of the Kawi, don't get me wrong, but had I known that the Katana existed, I would have gone out and found one. Thing is, I wouldn't have found the one that I got if I hadn't have got the Kawasaki first. And I had been talking to that same buddy of mine, Orange Crush, and I said, man, if Suzuki made a motorcycle that was a GS 1000 or a GS 1100, called it a Katana or called it what is so weird how this conversation went. And the bike that I had in my mind was more like a 1978, 1979 GS 1100. I said, if they ever made something like that, then I mean it would be a done deal. Based on the GS 1100 architecture, I wouldn't even think twice because it's the K5 and it's the K5 chassis, the K5 swing arm, everything K5. That's what this thing is. It's pretty crazy how they can just stretch a they can stretch a platform that long. But with that being said, I discovered the Katana and I'd never even seen one. And I knew that right away. I was like, I'm going to end up with one of these things. No question about it. And I'm glad I did because, again, I get a bike that's a lot more, I think a lot more me to own. I will tell you this, the engine is smoother with the Suzuki than it is with the Kawasaki. And so if that's anything, but I will say this, that unrestricted Cowie is a lot of fun to ride. So, Skids, if you get a chance, if you can ride that thing, if they let you, get after it. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. Oh, DMC, yeah, the 06 K5 mid-range is legendary, one of the best. Yeah, it's a great bike. It really is. I mean, my experience with that bike is limited, admittedly. There were two out of NorCal cycles that I had ridden. One of them was very well massaged, and the other one was not as massaged. One was an 06, I think the other one was an 08, so the same engine. But the 08 had a lot of work done to it, and I only rode it a few times. The 06 I rode a little bit more, but I had a lot more experience with the CBR 1000, the 08. And so, or was it a 10? Screw it. Call it a 9. Well, I can't remember if it was an 08 or a 10. But the Suzuki, where if you're, okay, so if the Honda was 1,000 cc's, with the same modifications, you would swear that the Suzuki was 1150 or 1200. Just the way that it would pull differently than the Honda of that era was really, it's like it was a different bike. It was it really always seemed to feel like it was about 10 or 15% more powerful across the board. So that was my initial experience with the K5 platform. And it was limited. I had my GSXR 750. That was my track bike. That was my mountains bike. That's what I had. That's what I rode. And so my main barometer before that was my RC51. And, again, these are vastly different motorcycles. But, the Suzuki was, my little Kikoku, my little whore, dude. That thing was, I mean, I would go out sniping after leader bikes, especially on track days. I'd catch somebody trying to be cute in B group, and I'd sneak into B group and just absolutely, I mean, I would tail gun them for about 3 laps at T Hill, and then I would just check out. Usually on turn 1, this is usually where I would make the move, and I would do the pass on the right like that chick did to me the first time I was out there. Oh, DM, yeah, Bridgestones will help get rid of the chatter, bro. I mean, well, shit, let's go back. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hang on. Let's do this again. So I haven't done a date check. Mike's birthday is, man, it might even be last week of hang on. Get one of these lights over here. Bear with me. I mean, it's in October, so it's like, it's a October bike, but yeah, you can kind of see the grease line a little bit there on the rear. The front, hang on, let me drag this over here. Front's a little bit more pronounced. I'm just trying to get this thing scuffed in, and that's, hey, there we are. That's what I'm up against with all that. So anyway, good stuff. But yeah, it needs new tires desperately. The more I ride it though, the better it's getting. When I first rode that thing, it was not all that great. And I don't know if you noticed, but you can see the way you can see the waviness in some of those lines on the tires, and that's where the bike is, kind of stepping out a little bit. And I mean, I'm not running track pressures. I'm talking 36, 38. So, and I have to remember it's not a, I mean, it's a decent enough tire, but it's not like a super sport the way that, in any of the street oriented super sport tires, it doesn't have that performance envelope. They're actually more like sport touring tires. Itch is in. Good to see it. His boy's last ball game. Very cool. MotoX switching stock 392 to E85 requires a tune. Indeed it does, my friend. You need injectors too. I don't really suggest it. You'll pick up some torque down low, but there's not a lot of horsepower to pick up. That E85 takes up way too much room up top where you're really trying to feed that thing fuel. The fuel displaces the air that it needs to burn the fuel. So there's that. I was also going to do in fact, I've got my notes on this box over here. Speaking of E85, I was going to do a show. I don't know if you guys would even be interested in this. It's kind of getting into some nerd stuff, but gasoline versus E85 versus like nitromethane or methanol, something along those lines. Why is it that, what is it about ethanol that makes it better than gasoline for making power? Or what is it about nitromethane? Why does it make so much power? I was going to get into that, get into some of the chemistry of it. Most guys typically will check out on that unless I'm the background noise generator and you're trying to either sleep or work through something, or you're just trying to eat up miles. That's really what that is. It just starts to sound like Chinese in the background, and I get it. But it all has to, just to give you an idea, it all has to do with if it's got an oxygen molecule attached to it and how many hydrogens are in the actual molecule of fuel that we're talking about. The more molecules of hydrogen, the more air you need to make it work. That's in essence the whole show in a nutshell. So to give you an idea, C6H18 is gasoline. You need oxygen from the air to get rid of all of those hydrogens that are in that molecule. To give you an idea, so nitromethane is the other end of the spectrum. There's only 3 hydrogens, but it comes with 2 oxygens. And so you've actually got a free hydrogen that's left over. But it's kind of interesting. H2O, you try to figure it like you're making water. So you've got 1 extra hydrogen and 1 extra oxygen that's in there. So you basically fill the whole cylinder full of this stuff, and it's like 0.5 to 1 is what they run when they really start throwing the boost at it. It's crazy the amount of fuel that you can burn with nitromethane, because it brings its own oxygen into the party. You get into other things like like E85 or just ethanol versus methanol. There is a difference. It's a reason why methanol does so well at making torque, but not as much horsepower, is because it's got, basically less hydrogen, but it does carry its own oxygen too, 1 molecule. So I'm looking at my notes. I'm like, I don't want to get this all screwed up. Anyway, that's where all that comes from. Again, it's kind of engine nerd stuff, and some guys like it, and other guys get really bored really quick with it. X is asking, if I inherited Dodge, what would my 2025 vehicle lineup be? You can bet that it would be 2 Conquest variants. And then there would be a development on a 5.5 liter Coyote equivalent V8 for the trucks and for the cars. I would utilize that platform with a positive displacement supercharger for a higher performance variant of whatever the conquest thing that I would be making. And I would offer that with a V8 also. And I would offer the trucks with a V8. So give the folks some choices. I wouldn't do anything with the Durango other than fit it with the new V8 and make the 6 cylinders available in that platform as well. The Hurricane, anywhere where you could put a V8 in a car that the platform would accommodate it safely and without a lot of modification, one to the next that would allow the use of the same K member, then I would do that. And that's how that lineup would look. The Jeep would get a 5.7 liter Hemi, or I should say the 5.5 liter new V8 as standard. So any of the Wranglers or anything like that would have that engine as, well, let's not say standard. It would be optional. And I would do something with the 3.6 liter V6 to make it not such a piece of crap when it comes to making power in the Jeep. That 3.6 liter has got to be revved to the moon and then it makes horsepower. But it's a dog compared to my wife's 3.8. That 3.8 makes 100 horsepower less, but just driving it, it feels like it's more powerful. It's just like the 440 versus the Hemi back in the day, except that we're talking about Jeep Wranglers. Larger engine, far and away less compression ratio, half the valves and everything else, but it really does feel more powerful than the newer engine because you got to leg the thing out so bad. So there's that. But that's what I would do. And that, I mean, that's all you would need to do. And that's just for the existing stuff. I would come out with, and I would market a vehicle, small, city type car that would do well in urban environments. And I would make it either EV, gas, or a hybrid style setup. And I wouldn't lean on, like, I wouldn't try to, it would be a vehicle for less than $32,000. And it would be something that would be reliable. It would have, it would be good on gas, safe, something cute, something that would be zippy to drive around, easy to park. Not a crazy amount of range for the EV version of it, and for the hybrid, it would be what it would be. It would basically be the Hornet without being the Hornet, without all the dumb bells and whistles and all what extra kind of charm they're throwing at it, and make it available as a courier style vehicle too, a small transit, if you will, vinyl interior. Available with whatever motor you want to put in it that will fit your needs. That would be the type of stuff that I would look at. I would look at it more from a utilitarian standpoint. And then with Ram, I would say get the HO and whatever truck you can freaking cram that thing into. And that would be the other thing that I would do with that engine. Let's see. So RNC is about to wrap it up. Did Trump say who his running mate's going to be? It's just saying, I'm curious your thoughts on the Edelbrock kit with the supercharger / cam, etc. I've seen 360 talking about who is far from mechanic. So here's the thing. If we're talking about the E-Force kit, my experience with that kit is somewhat limited, but I will tell you this. It's left a lasting impression on me for the 5.7 guys. The car that I've got in mind is, gentleman brought in a Go Mango Challenger 6-speed car, elder chap, cool guy, and it had the E-Force kit on it. And we put a tune, Alex tuned it, and he put a tune on it that was just an optimized version. It was already tuned with the E-Force kit, and I think we picked up about 20 horsepower. Um, but I drove the car. I did the final data log, and when I drove the car, I just absolutely loved it. I don't know what it was about that. And keep in mind, my whole world at that point was 1,000 horsepowers, all of that crap. Um, I got anyway. Yeah, everything was 800 to 1,000 horsepower at the flywheel, and it was those one of the anyway. It was such a refreshing car to drive. It was plenty powerful, plenty fun, very playful, just a really fun car to drive, and I loved it. And that's one of the few cars, like I've always said, God, if I could just have one of the cars that was there. One was the 62 D100 with the 6.1 liter and the NAG 1. That's number one on the list. I adored that truck. Me and that truck were best friends. Was just fast enough. It would like light the tires up at will. It was just a fun truck. And the guy building is like, look, I need you to run this thing. The customer is going to be expecting to have, you know, a finished product. I need you to make sure if he's out playing with it, it's not going to break. So break it before he breaks it. And it, obviously, but you couldn't hurt it. It was, a tuned stock 6.1 with a NAG 1. Great setup, great fun truck. But it was that one, the Pro-Charged 6-speed 392 car, the Candy Striper car, which was white with red stripes, and which I've got a thing for, and I don't know freaking why, but the Signature Series with the livery on the sides, white with red, and the white with red stripe. I don't know why. I like them. Not that I would maybe. I don't know. Getting back to the point, that car I absolutely loved. That guy that owned it was really cool guy to visit with. And the Go Mango 5.7 car. So for me, I'd say it's a great one. Now for the 392. If you're on stock tires, you're not going to hurt anything. If you're on even a set of like the was it FT10s? What was it? What were the Falcons that I did? Oh crap! My dyslexia just flared up. Anyway, FK10. If you were to put a set of FK10s on the back of that thing, 295, 45. 20 on a 10 or a 10 and a half inch wide wheel, but not drag radials, something that'll still break loose fairly easily, I think you would be okay. I don't like the 392 with positive displacement superchargers. They've got higher compression. You've got to kill the timing in the thing, and so you'd almost be better off going with a Pro-Charger in a 392 just because you can use the snappiness and the torque of the 392 to get you going, and then just force feed the thing up on the top end to make it make more horsepower. JD Vance, all right. Itch, oh yep, E-Force with comp cams and I think injectors. Yeah, you'd have to get it with injectors. But with a small cam, I mean, even the HRT, that stage 2 cam would be perfectly fine with that setup. Although I will say, well, no, that one's on a 116, so you'd probably still be okay. The stock cam in a 392 doesn't suck as a PD blower cam, positive displacement. I would prefer to have more exhaust duration though with that cam. You gotta remember, there's not much that separates the 392 cam from the Hellcat, but what it does separate it is about 10 more degrees of duration on the exhaust end. But they're great. I mean, they're awesome. They're awesome kits. They really are. And that Maggie compressor is, I mean, it's been a known positive thing for a very long time. And it's kind of funny. If I would have kept Stormy, I probably it probably would have just gotten a blower and that would have been it. At one point I thought about, well, can I delete this e-torque thing? Because the e-torque sucked. I am not an e-torque guy after owning one. It just was weird. It would kick on at weird times. The truck would feel like you're driving, you lose power. It's just, I don't know. I couldn't really, what am I trying to say? I just, if you could find a DT Ram without e-torque, so it'd have to be a pre-23 truck, so 22, 21, or 20, and just go with any of the generic superchargers, it would be a lot of fun. I probably would go that route with the HP75. Oh, Sovereign, I didn't get a chance to see all of that, but yeah, I know Nick was working on that 440 4-speed car. That I do need to see that. But yeah, that's yeah, I think didn't he sell the keeper car? I can't remember if he sold his Hemi car or not. Pretty interesting stuff out of that guy's garage. A lot of cool cars. A lot of a lot of cars that they're true drivers, which is one of the things I like about the stuff that he's working on. Oh, and he does still have that. Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad he does. I know at one point he was talking about selling it, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But yeah, that's a pretty cool deal there. Trying to think if there's anything else that there's nothing else going on here. Just working on the Katana. Like I say, I just got back from a ride before I started the live show. I did that standalone video, so be looking for that if you're interested in that, to go over the Sato handlebars. It's not an install video. It's just me trying to figure out why the Katana crowd is not freaking, like, every one of the Katanas doesn't have that setup on it. It is really, really that good. I am going to have to save up for a set of tires. I sunk a lot of money into that bike, but nowhere near the kind of effort that I've ever put into. Let me start over. I will not have to put the kind of effort into this bike that I did into the Kawasaki, though. Oh yeah, Sovereign's got Nick's Garage. Nick's Garage is a good channel. Good family fun type of a channel. And it's a long form channel too. So, I kind of like, haven't you noticed? I kind of like long form type videos. I use them as background noise, just the way that you guys, if you're watching this after it's gone live, might be using this video as background noise. I do the same with other YouTube guys. It's half the time it's just wah, 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 going on in the background anyway. So, but let's see. Oh, thought I lost the feed for a second. But with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Some updates from Southeast Velocito. Yes. Looks like a lot of us have got power back now. The shop has power. Homestead's got power, so we're good there. Thoughts and prayers to anybody out there that's still going through the not having power, man. I was there with you. We were out for 8 days. So middle of summertime, these more tropical regions get a little bit moist. Anyway. It's coming. They're working on it. This is what's messed up. I was talking to some of the linemen. In fact, they were using part of my parking lot as a staging area. And so myself and one of the guys that I work with, we were out there just talking to him. In fact, we were handing him out microfiber towels. Just saying thanks, appreciate it. Here's some stuff for the, for the truck. And I said, what's one of the biggest challenges that you're faced with? And the guy goes, well, aside from them not being prepared and a couple of other things, is people were pulling guns on these guys trying to get them to go fix their electricity. So I had never heard of such a thing. I didn't understand the logic behind that. But guys, in emergency situations, tempers run out of control, and I get that. Some folks had lost control of their own and apparently put a couple of linemen in some weird positions, but apparently it's something that they're used to. So go figure. Job-related stress, it could always be worse, I guess, is the theme of that statement. And with that, gents, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. Guys, want to thank each and every one of y'all for hanging out. Could not, would not do this without you. Love each and every one of y'all. And don't forget, get out there and do something cool for somebody, because chances are they need it way more than you know. And guys, with that, that's a wrap. We'll catch you on the next one. Adios.